Well, I did a reboot. I did a complete uninstall of everything. Nothing helped. So basically, I wiped everything from the machine, all the components that I installed, and I'm just trying again from scratch, folks. So people that are coming into this video cold are like, "What is he talking about?" But if you watch a previous video, you'd know. Um, so I figured that by completely uninstalling everything, that this might be a better path to success. Now, if this fails on me, I'm still going to pursue this independently outside of class time to try to find a workable way to do this. Otherwise, we have a secondary method for putting all the tools in that is always successful. I'm not always a fan of using that approach for a couple of reasons, which I'll explain later. But for now, I'm just going to follow the same path that I was on before. So I'm repeating all the same steps. So I'm at the Ruby installer site. I'm grabbing the latest 64-bit version for my 64-bit version of Windows, as was explained in the previous video. Now that installer probably is already in my folder, so it's kind of silly to download it. So we'll wait for the folder to open here. All right, now that it's done, let's go ahead and click it and launch the installer. Accept the license terms. Go with all the defaults here. This is a repeat of the same process that we were using before. You see it installs quite a number of files. Okay, now that we reached this last screen, I am going to allow it to run the development kit installer. So I'm leaving that box checked. So I'm going to click finish, and then it's going to bring a command prompt window here. Now we were having a bit of a discussion last time around on which option to choose. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm hemming and hawing a little bit on which option to choose right now. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with option 3, and hopefully that works this time because I'm working from a clean install. So I'm pressing 3 and I'm being brave. Just clicking through all the screens, accepting all the defaults. I often like to click these little show details because when it seems like that progress bar is not going anywhere, you can see in the background it's actually doing a whole lot of stuff. And really what it's doing is it's compressing a gazillion little small text files. So it's expanding them all out of the zip. So even though it seems like it's not moving, boy, it's doing a lot of work. And we'll let it continue to do its work. I'm going to pause the video while it's doing it. All right, it looked like it finished finally. So I'm going to click next. And it's asking me to run the tool now. You know what? I'll leave that checked, even though I'm not actually going to use that prompt to do any of my work. All right. So I think that everything is okay. It does show me in the background here on that screen that I was just working with that some tools seem to fail. And I think that some of you had this problem last time that you were doing a fresh install. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go back to this screen, and I'm actually going to type option 2 to do a system update. The worst thing that's going to happen is it's going to update stuff, right? I don't anticipate any failures, so let's just let it do its work. And maybe this is the magic trick here. So here it goes through the process again. And what I'm going to do, just for the sake of brevity in this particular video, is I was going to pause it, but it looks like it's already done. Or actually, no, right now it's actually waiting to download a command here. So these are Linux-style commands that are happening. And I don't know if you guys caught that there were some error messages that were popping up here that we're talking about conflicting packages, but I can't scroll up to them right now. But what's really kind of fun about these command line screens when you have programs like this is it kind of looks like you're watching like a Matrix movie or something, like you're doing something very impressive. right, we're letting it do its work. It's got a ways to go. It's on number 11 out of 58, so we'll just let it keep going. All right, now I'm at a screen here, and notice that my screen is prompting me. It says, which component shall be installed? What should I type? We already did the install. It's a trick question. Because you notice that the command that I did type above said succeeded, so that's wonderful. I am now going to drop down to a regular command prompt like we did in the previous video. I'm going to drop to the root of the C, and then I'm going to type Ruby space -v to make sure Ruby's installed.
That's on my Mac.
All right, we have somebody, one of the Mac people succeeded here when the Windows people didn't. But we have Windows people that succeeded, so please be aware of that too. All right, so now I'm going to go back to my commands, and I have them in my Word document somewhere. All right, so I'm at the point now where I'm going to do the gem system update. We'll let it do its work. You might get a firewall prompt at some point. Remember, folks, to allow on both public and private networks. I'm going to let this run. I'm going to be pausing the video here while it's doing the work. All right, so it looks like it finished, and I'm just going to scroll back up and take a look to see if there's any issues or anything. And from what I'm seeing, everything went okay. No errors or anything like that. So that's a good sign. We'll move on to that next command, which is to install Rails. So I'm just going to type here gem install Rails, and then I always forget those little extensions, what they are, but it's no RI and no doc, so I'm going to highlight those two, and I'm just going to come back over here and paste it. If you're using an operating system that's older than Windows 10, with Windows 10 you can control V to the command line. Older versions of Windows, you have to right click and paste, by the way, but you can do that. But in Windows 10 you just control V and it works. So here we go. We're running the command. We're crossing our fingers for success. Oh my gosh, it looks like it's working. Oh my gosh, looks good. Oh, so good. Yeah. I'm waiting for it to crash and burn right now, folks. Only because I've done it like 1,000 times. Oh no! All right, so we still have that. Looks like the same error, but now. Okay. All right, so we gloriously failed once again, but I have a couple of students that have succeeded now. I have a good percentage of the room that succeeded before I have, and they have some techniques that they use. So one thing that they did is concur with me, you guys. You guys reran the Ruby installer without installing anything. And then when you went to that screen where you got the option of 1, 2, or 3, it seemed like which number was the magic option? 3. Okay. So I'm going to run that Ruby installer once again. It's already in my downloads folder. So let's just go there directly. And I usually reverse sort by date here, so it should be right at the top. I'll run the installer, accept the agreement. Yep. We'll let it close all the open applications. And it seems to me what it's recognizing that everything's already installed, because it's sure going a whole lot faster than the first time. And we'll run the tool. I'm going to run 3. All right, I'm going to press 3. All right. So we're just letting it do its work. I got another successful person in the room here. That's good. Yeah, my gut feeling is it's probably going to work this time. They could. Things could be like installing in the wrong sequence. And then one thing's overwriting the other or updating, and the update it's not appropriate. And all right, it looks like this process is complete once again. So now I'm going to go back to the prompt. We know Ruby's installed, right? Or it should be. Okay, so Ruby is there. And then what should I do next? Do my system update or just do the Rails install? What did you guys do? Rails install. All right, so here we go. So gem install Rails, and actually it should still be in the buffer right there. All right. All right, all right, so here we go. I'm being brave. I'm pressing enter. Right. Well, yeah, that's the line that where it was hanging up. So okay. So the mistake here is the system update shouldn't happen before the Rails install. That seems to be the catch. Well, you know what, guys? This is huge, right? All right. Until we have another mistake. All right, so now we're going to move on. I have some instructions I'm going to be tweaking here. So the one is don't do this. So I'm going to highlight that in red and yellow because those are going to be removed. That's okay. And now we're going to continue with this step, which is actually to create a projects folder. So I'm going to teach you guys how to do that. So at your command prompt now, I'm going to have you type dir just to see what files you have in there. Now notice I already have a folder that's called projects. And if you look right up above it, I have a project 15 and a project 16 from my last two iterations of teaching this class using this computer. And so I'm just telling you that I already have that folder created. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the command to type to create that folder. It is in the instruction set, but just in case you don't have that up on screen, what you're going to do from the prompt is you're going to type mkdir space projects. That's what I'm calling mine. You can call that whatever you want. You want to call it Joe or whatever, you feel free. But I'm calling mine project. Normally I'd press enter here and it would create the directory. Once the directory is created, you can then type cd space projects and that will take you into the folder. If you type dir inside that folder, you'll see that it's empty, which is what we want. All right. So at this point, we're actually on this step here. We're going to see if Rails is actually installed. So I'm going to type Rails space -v. Well, after all that struggling, right? It's successful. So it shows us that Rails is installed and it's spitting back the version number. So that is very much a success. The next thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to type the Rails command that allows us to create a fresh project. Now I know most of you here in the room have already done this, so you're not too interested in it, but the people listening to the video are. So I'm proceeding. So I'm going to type Rails new and then whatever you want to call your project. And since this is the first one, I'm just going to do test 1 and then I'm going to type enter. All right. Now what's happening here is Rails has a pretty verbose interface when it runs the command line. So it's just going through and it's telling you all the folders that it's creating, all the files it's adding. And then notice right here how it does bundle install. What that's doing is based upon the files that are included in the project, it's going out to the web and downloading all the packages that it needs to create a project and then installing them one by one. So that's why you see fetching and installing, and it's in a process like that, fetching, installing, and really this is an FTP process that's running in the background. All right, now we're getting to the exciting part. The new project creation tool worked. All the packages are downloaded, installed, and they're all present. And now we're going to type a really crucial command that you guys are going to learn, and the command is Rails server. And there is actually an abbreviation for this command, by the way. You can just type Rails S and it does the same thing. But if you want to type the verbose command, which is server, and what this does now in conception, those of you that have worked with PHP, right, and ASP.NET realize that those languages are server-side, right? Ruby is a server-side language also. So what we're doing here is we're launching the Rails web server, which is built into the Rails framework. So it's a piece of software that turns your PC into a web server in essence. So we're going to initiate that. And it looks like mine failed. Oh, and well, let me tell you why it failed. I didn't do a crucial step here. So I'm going to type dir to see that I did create that project, but I do need to navigate into that folder. So I'm going to type cd test1. Now I'm going to launch Rails server. Now the reason for this is because when the server launches, it can only run one project at a time. It's not going to run multiple websites. It takes whatever project that you're working on, which is indicated by just navigating to the folder, and then it's using that as the whole website. So the whole server will run around that. So let's launch it again. All right, and that's a successful thing. So what it's doing is it's launching a piece of software, and the software you can see right at the very first line there, it says booting Puma. And now that it's up and running, notice that the thing that it's doing is nothing. It seems it's just a cursor is flashing at the bottom of the screen. That means it's working. All right. And if you want to stop the web server, what do you suppose you have to do? See this little thing that it says right here? Control C to stop the web server. This web server operates on your local host, so that's what we're going to be typing in to our browser, on port 3000. All right. So I'm going to bring up my browser, and I'm going to come out of full screen mode because I'm going to kind of demonstrate something to you guys at the same time. So up here I'm going to type localhost :3000. And if you succeeded, you should see this. This is the automatically generated page for a default project. So this is an excellent sign. Notice that on the left-hand side of the screen where the command prompt is, what's happening is every interaction that that web server is having with the browser is being logged to the command prompt window. So it shows you what pages are being requested, which pages are being rendered, how long it took. So every time I would navigate to something on the screen in the browser, it will be logged on the command prompt window. So one thing we're going to discover as we start to work in code is you're going to end up having multiple command line windows open. At times, you will have one open to type in commands, another one to type in code, another one that's just running your web server and your browser, and you'll probably have a regular text editor open and a Windows file window open, and probably a few other tools. And you'll get this kind of like this suite of windows that you'll be working with on a regular basis. So this is really a successful completion of the goals we had for tonight. So despite the frustrations, we did finally succeed. And right now I'm going to actually stop this video or at least pause it and then come around and we're going to try to make sure that everybody's up to the same point.